This crocodile successfully attacked the buffalo during watering and clamped its super strong jaws right into the face of the hoofed animal. The reptile tried to drag the prey underwater and drown it, but didn't know who it was dealing with. In the case of any other hoofed animal, the crocodile would have already won, but the incredibly powerful bull overcomes the pain and pulls the reptile onto the shore, which continues to clamp its jaws. The bull strains its powerful muscles, digs its hooves into the mud and soil, and not only lifts the weight of one of the largest reptiles in the world, but also overcomes its resistance. The crocodile's in shock. It was pulled onto land as if it hadn't caught the prey, but rather was caught itself. And now, the enraged hoofs will unleash their wrath upon it. The frightened reptile finally releases its opponent and in panic retreats into the water. Today we'll show you other instances in which bulls demonstrate their power. A numerous herd of buffaloes moves in a living chain along the shoreline of the water body, and these hoofed animals migrate in search of vegetation. Even if they see a field rich in succulent grass, such a large number of bulls will quickly devour all the tastiest bits, pushing the herd to further dangerous wanderings of their own. Among all African predators, it's the lion pride that poses the most serious threat to these buffaloes. Here, lionesses lie on the elevation and watch as the buffaloes come straight into their paws. The predators don't hurry to get up. They understand that defeating the bull isn't that easy, but believe that they can handle the task without any problems. Several lionesses can act together like a very well-coordinated team. Hunting together, the cats significantly enhance each other's capabilities, giving them a high chance of dealing with a single bull. Fortunately, herbivores usually travel not just in groups of unrelated animals, but in real clans. Although solitary buffaloes sometimes roam the savanna, predators have a better chance of finding an actual herd. Unlike most other hoofed animals, bulls from the same family group often come to each other's aid. So the main tactic of lions when hunting them is not stealth, as the predators have already been noticed. They must intimidate the prey. Lionesses must, with the help of fast and frontal attacks, cause real panic among the hoofed animals, so that the herbivores succumb to fear and begin to flee in disorder. Then it will be possible to focus on one animal which lags behind or finds itself in an unfavorable position for fighting. If, in the turmoil, they attack it right in front of the retreating bulls, they won't come to the aid of their kin. This is exactly what's happening here. Lionesses launched an attack on the buffaloes, who went ahead for reconnaissance. The huge male was first, followed by the female, and then the calf. But the adult individuals turned around and started to run away, so the predatory cats easily caught up with the calf. The chase took place on the low bank right at the water's edge. The lioness, in an impressive leap, not only knocked the young bull off its feet, but also sent it flying into the water, causing a fountain of splashes. Other members of the hunting party are practically here. They also catch up with the hoofed animal. Although the calf is still young, it tries to resist and fights for its survival with all its might. The lions brutally sink their powerful jaws into it, dig their claws into the body of the hoofed animal, try to strangle it or break its neck. The confrontation takes place on a high and steep bank, so even if the baby broke free, it wouldn't be able really to run very far. Suddenly, a crocodile emerges from the water. It turned out that these sounds of falling, chasing, and struggling aroused its lively interest. It attacks the calf from behind. The reptile tries to shock the lions with its sudden appearance from the water, and taking advantage of this effect, to snatch their prey before they give battle to the competitor. But this reptile underestimated its enemies. A real tug-of-war began. The lions dragged the calf towards them, and now the steep angle of the bank was inconvenient for them. But the panthers outnumber it. They are incredibly powerful. And their paws hold their prey well. The crocodile tries to snatch the half from the clutches of the cats, but only to drag it to the bottom, drown it, and devour it. Finally, after a long struggle, the lions prevail and drag the calf onto the shore. It's hard to say if he's still alive, as it was constantly tossed, bitten, scratched, beaten, and literally stretched by such fearsome predators. But this isn't the end. The lions shouldn't have been so engrossed in fighting with the crocodiles. After all, the male and female who were with the calf did not run away in panic at all. They called for backup. A huge, numerous, and enraged herd of buffaloes came to battle with these predators who dared to attack their young. The lions are shocked by this massive charge. Now the bulls are not coming in a chain, but in a devastating avalanche. Each of the buffaloes is several times larger than the lioness and about twice the size of the adult male lion. Here, several dozen of hoofed animals march against just half a dozen predators. Just to look at these impressive shots. The buffaloes gathered like an army and descended upon the predators almost in formation. In fact, it's even difficult to count how many hoofed animals are participating in the attack, but the count is definitely in the tens. Hundreds of muscular legs and hundreds of sharp horns are directed at the bewildered panthers, who made a mistake by attacking this calf. Even one buffalo can resist 2 or 3 lionesses, and with such overwhelming numerical superiority, the pride stands no chance. The predators realize this, so they hesitantly press their bellies into the ground. Interestingly enough, the hoofed animals do not fight as chaotically and thoughtlessly as one might expect. First, the very first individuals waited for the stragglers to approach to form a large and dense group. Then they encircled the lions in a semicircle, gradually tightening around them. The buffaloes partially cut off their retreat routes and certainly deprived the hunters of space for maneuver. The hoofed animals only left a narrow strip of land along the shore so that the lions could abandon the prey and flee. But the predators enraged a circular defense. They still hold onto the calf and are not going to let go of the already caught prey, for which they defeated the crocodile. The lions have a cunning plan. They grabbed the calf and are now trying to finish it off. If they manage to strangle it, even in case of retreat, the body of the hoofed animal will remain there. And when the herd leaves the shore, the predators can return and feast on the meat that's left. That's why the predators are delaying time, as if holding the baby hostage. In fact, they're trying to crush its trachea as quickly as possible. The bulls don't understand this, so they are not in a hurry and approach cautiously to avoid provoking the enemies, which makes the situation especially tragic. However, the huge buffalo still advance with true inevitability. When nerves fail for one predator or the other, it tries to escape. Then it's chased while being trampled, hooked on the horns, or thrown into the water. The swift panthers often manage to escape beyond the tightening ring, but if the lioness or young lion is lucky enough to escape unharmed, they certainly won't be allowed back. The circle continues to tighten slowly. Finally, one of the buffaloes realizes that they not only have no intention of letting the calf go, but are pressing harder on it. The bull charges. The lions underestimated the strength of this creature. The enraged hoofed beast hoists the predator into the air, tearing it away from the ground and sending it on a short, painful flight. The panther literally flies off from the stunningly powerful blow. The others realize that they will simply be slaughtered, so they gradually retreat. In the end, the lions had to leave with nothing. It's unknown whether the calf recovered after all it went through. What do you think? Share your opinion and impressions of this episode in the comments underneath this video. But in any case, it's striking and admirable that they didn't abandon the calf, and for the sake of saving the young hoofed animal, the entire numerous herd united. Lions didn't expect such support and paid for it with broken ribs and other injuries. The courage of this bull deserves your like, I'd say, doesn't it? An incredibly beautiful scene takes place when on a sunny winter day, a herd of bisons rushes through a wide snowy valley. They demonstrate unexpected speed and agility for animals of such impressive size, jumping over drifts and raising whole clouds of snow crumbs, which almost hide their silhouettes. But the hoofed animals hurry so much for a reason. They are pursued by the main enemy of the American bison in its natural habitat, the wolf. Credit has to be given to this predator. It managed to turn such a numerous herd of bisons into flight alone. But there is a reason for this behavior of the hoofed animals, and their flight should not be explained by their cowardice. The beginning of the wolf attack on the bisons resembles the first stage of lion hunting on African buffaloes. The goal of the gray predators here is to make the hoofed animals flinch and start panicking. All herbivores are naturally quite timid, preferring to retreat when a threat arises. But bisons, buffaloes, and their relatives are much braver than, for example, zebras or antelopes. Therefore, bisons can stand up to the enemy and offer staggering resistance. If the bisons are ready to fight and not scared of the enemy, they can form something like a defensive formation. Of course, hoofed animals don't study tactics and aren't fans of ancient Roman legionnaires, at least we don't think so. But bisons act in the most effective way, that is, they meet the enemy by digging their hooves into the ground and pointing their horned heads at them. By covering each other, they can withstand a real onslaught. The formation, in which the strongest individuals stand shoulder to shoulder and don't allow predators to approach them too closely, allows the weakest to hide safely behind their backs. You've got to agree, such care among representatives of the wild deserves your respect, doesn't it? Humans have something to learn from them. To prevent this and not allow bisons to put the strongest members of the herd into battle, wolves attack the herd in a wide arc, simultaneously rushing at the hoofed animals from different points. The sudden appearance of the fanged predators scares the bisons, who decide to retreat. Making hoofed animals panic is quite difficult. When bisons see the sudden appearance of a large number of enemies, they're bewildered. After all, bisons don't see the situation from above like you do, so they don't know exactly where the wolves are, how many of them are, and where else they could be lurking. So what if a whole gang of carnivores is hiding behind the next bush? The first instinctive impulse of any animal is to try to hide to avoid getting stuck in battle of the enemy's terms. Here, bisons see one wolf but assume that there are a dozen more around them. Believe me, they have bitter experience to guide them. But the wolf takes advantage of this reasonable decision to retreat and first runs alongside the bisons, and then simply starts driving the hoofed animals forward. Thus, moderate fear turns into panic, and a whole herd of bisons runs in one direction. Here, the weather also comes to the wolf's aid. Running through deep snow and uneven ground hidden under it is difficult and inconvenient. The strongest run first, paving the way for the rest. This is great, but the herd is stretching out in line, exposing their flanks and rear. It is at this stage that the wolf transitions into the final part of the hunt. Predators usually begin pursuing the weakest individuals, the sick, the old, the young, and helpless, those who fall behind. There is an opinion that wolves select such prey significantly earlier, even at the stage of preparing for the hunt. Engaging with such mighty hoofed animals without preparations would simply be foolish now, wouldn't it? But the continuation of the hunt for the bison herd by wolves differs from the tactics of any panthers. The thing is, cats rely on a sharp, powerful burst of energy. A leap from ambush, an attack after sneaking up, several quick jumps, and a powerful strike, that's their tactic. Wolves, on the other hand, rely not on a quick and effective single attack, but on victory after a long and exhausting chase. Of course, the pursuit should exhaust the prey, not the predator, at least according to the wolves' plan. After all, they can chase a bison for many tens of miles, dozens of kilometers, thanks to their incredible endurance. When the animal is exhausted, only then do they surround it for the final attack. But here the wolf underestimated the stamina of that huge bison, which they attacked and forced to fall behind the rest of the herd. Because this mighty fighter can resist a whole pack of wolves alone. He's not afraid of one wolf either. The bison immediately showed his strength, and it would be really dangerous to fight him. It seems for him, it's a matter of principle, or the predator is too hungry. During the epic battle, the bison chases the wolf itself. He constantly dodges attacks, jerks, and doesn't allow himself to be overwhelmed, and then swiftly delivers a counterattack. The wolf is shocked by this furious charge. The bison demonstrates true indomitability. It seems like a trap, and in fact, the herd has set up to the strongest fighter against the enemies to hold off the predators while the family retreats from danger. With almost no run-up, the bison can jump to the height of an average human, so the snow barely hinders his movements at all. For some time, the adversaries simply stand facing each other. It looks mesmerizing. Both foes are tired, but neither of the animals is willing to give up. They gather their strength for the continuation of the fight, while sizing each other up with evaluating gazes. What do you think they're thinking at this moment right here? But as they catch their breath, they charge back into the fray. Constantly spinning and leaping from side to side, the bison confounds the enemy's plans, preventing them from overpowering or inflicting a dangerous injury. Primarily, the bison relies on its horns. Although the bull's weapon is quite short and doesn't look particularly impressive, the horns have very sharp tips. The smaller the force application area, the more powerful the effect is. Bison can deliver blows with little momentum thanks to the powerful musculature of their neck. So if the bison manages to strike the wolf, the predator won't come out unscathed. But even if the sharp horn misses the target, the bison's forehead resembles a real battering ram. There's no need for precise aiming here. If the hoofed animal strikes, it will drive the wolf into the ground with its neck. No wonder the predator constantly dodges in different directions as soon as the hoofed animal turns its muzzle towards it. Meanwhile, the bison shows no signs of fatigue. It pressures the predator, trying to catch it off guard. And the wolf clearly had no idea about such a reserve of the victim's strength. Probably the wolf now regrets not choosing a younger and less experienced individual to attack. Finally, the predator sinks its mighty jaws into the base of the bison's front leg. The wolf tries to tear the muscles of the hoofed animal, not only to exhaust it with the wound, but also to deprive it of mobility. But the bison catches the hunter with its horns and lifts it by the hind legs. The hoofed animal almost disembowels the enemy. After that, the wolf releases its grip and runs around the bison for a while, which is still ready to fight. In Asia, there is a species of bovids that incredibly love water. Externally, they do not differ much from other representatives of their kind. They possess the same slender and muscular legs with hooves, powerful body, and impressive horns. It seems that with such dimensions, a bull could hardly just survive in the water, let alone swim. But that's not the case. You'll be surprised, but in reality, many hoofed animals swim quite well. It may seem that their bodies are poorly adapted for it. However, even domestic cows feel very confident in the water. But the Asian water buffalo is on a completely different level. A significant part of its life is spent in the water. Usually, this species chooses coastal areas, lakes, rivers, and swamps as grazing grounds. Moreover, they are not afraid of depths at all. The thing is, they can hold their breath for several minutes and dive to literally graze underwater. When you first see them diving and staying underwater for a long time, you reflexively reach for your phone to call rescuers. But then suddenly, this huge horn-crowned head emerges, followed by the entire body of the hoofed animal coming out onto the shore. That's when you can truly appreciate the dimensions of water buffaloes. They are impressive. Their shoulder height reaches almost 7 feet, about 2 meters, and the weight of an average individual fluctuates around a ton. It seems that aquatic plants provide an excellent diet for these hoofed animals, don't they? It's no wonder that with such dimensions, Asian buffaloes are also fierce fighters, capable of delivering a serious resistance to the most dangerous opponents. Here, a water buffalo is fighting with a deer. The bull is still very young. Its dimensions are nowhere near those of a mature and powerful member of its species. The deer, on the other hand, is experienced and aggressive. It perceived the appearance of another hoofed animal as an attack. One can understand this. The deer tries to protect the females from any threats and, at the same time, demonstrate its strength to them. The bull does not show any particular aggression. It just accidentally startled these hoofed animals. It's no wonder the deer went on the attack. It thinks that its branched and sharp antlers will give it an advantage over the opponent, who seems to hesitate and is ready to flee a few seconds after the start of the skirmish. However, the deer underestimated the bull. The latter is not afraid of the opponent. The buffalo is simply peaceful by nature, but the reluctance to fight is not a sign of weakness at all, and now the aggressive hoofed animal will realize this. The deer rams the bull, who at a crucial moment meets the opponent with a counterblow and falls to its knees. This significantly increases the buffalo's stability, lowers its center of gravity, and shifts it forward. The deer has no chance of making the bull retreat even a step. But it still doesn't realize this, so it persists in advancing. However, it's all in vain. The bull easily withstands the onslaught, showing no hint of fear and reacting perfectly to the aggression. The larger hoofed animal maintains composure and treats the situation as a game. In fact, the deer got lucky. If the bull had been truly scared and considered it a threat, it would have broken the deer's legs. Nevertheless, the situation drags on. The bull doesn't want this male to try to assert himself in front of the females at its expense, so it refuses to support a rival who attacked it first. From a defensive position, it swiftly transitions into a counterattack. The bull advances slowly to avoid maiming the enemy, but it showcases its incredible strength and easily tosses the deer aside. All its efforts to regain the initiative fail. The bull completely dominates the battlefield, dictating its rules and suppressing the resistance of the frantic and frightened deer with such power. The bull maneuvers and also demonstrates unexpected agility and mobility. Considering its limited experience and young age, these are truly impressive fighting qualities, don't you agree? The deer picked the wrong bull to tangle with. It already regrets starting the fight, and now it will have to retreat in shame because in a few minutes, the last of its strength will abandon the hoofed animal. The bull triumphs. Here in battle, yaks and buffaloes clashed. Both species are relatives and belong to the same genus. Both possess fierce temperaments. Yaks inhabit mountains but occasionally descend into valleys, whereas the more familiar to us buffaloes don't mind searching for tasty plants and climbing higher up for them. So it's not surprising that the habitats of these hoofed animals intersect. Yaks are known for their tough character. Toughened by the harsh mountain climate and living conditions, they are always ready to fight any opponent. The clash between bulls and yaks is like the collision of two tectonic plates. And the tactics are actually indeed quite similar. The opponents engage in a head-on attack, collide with a thunderous sound, and then lock horns and try to overpower each other. Both sides demonstrate incredible stubbornness, a desire to win, endurance, and willpower. It should be noted that despite their straightforwardness, both the yak and the bull act much more intelligently and employ various tactical maneuvers and tricks. All of this combined with their powerful, unstoppable charge. Indeed, they stand firmly on their feet as if their hooves have rooted into the ground, like those of millennia-old oaks. It feels like even an earthquake couldn't shake these animals and force them to retreat from their position. But both the yak and the bull employ different elegant and subtle techniques and tactics. Discover their sharp and precise headbutts. Both horned beasts execute them with incredible accuracy. Timing plays a crucial role in combat at such close quarters. It's necessary to wait for the moment, anticipate the enemy's mistake, and strengthen one's position. Then one can dare to risk and redirect the opponent's force while delivering a devastating blow. Every movement of the head is sharp, precise, and not overly amplified, but thanks to the powerful neck muscles, it's very powerful. Initially, the clash of the bulls resembled the striking of a hammer on an anvil. You choose which hoofed animal fits which role. But then their duel unexpectedly began to resemble fencing. In this sport, opponents deliver precise blows to each other, try to find a gap in the defense, trap each other, or unbalance each other. Similarly, the hoofed animals test each other's flanks with short blows, probe their opponent's strong and weak points in the tactics of combat, and then deliver a powerful strike at the end. Both opponents are worthy adversaries. They react swiftly to threats and immediately counterattack to maintain the initiative. The speed is particularly impressive. Even while remaining at super close range, within just a couple of minutes, both animals delivered dozens of blows to each other. These are not chaotic movements, but deliberate and cunning maneuvers. It's also important to note that both opponents use a very important technique. However powerful the bull may be, it exerts its force only in one direction. When opponents collide, one of them periodically tries to redirect the opponent's efforts sideways. This way, it's possible, at least temporarily, to throw them off balance and use their own strength against them for a finishing blow. Since both opponents are aware of this technique and occasionally apply it, neither the yak nor the buffalo manage to gain a definitive advantage with its help. Nevertheless, it still looks impressive, as if the hoofed animals were simultaneously engaged in fencing, wrestling, and aikido. Meanwhile, the battle remains cinematic and epic until the last second. The heavyweights from the world of hoofed animals raised a whole cloud of dust, continued to push each other, and tried to push or even hurl the enemy down the slope. In other words, the fight takes place on multiple levels, and simultaneously the yak and the bull employ several tactics for victory. At the same time, they also contemplate how to occupy a more advantageous tactical position to be above the enemy. Whom do you root for in this duel? Let us know in the comment section who has earned your sympathy. We're genuinely interested. Two young lions noticed the approaching herd of buffaloes. The bold predators dashed straight towards these huge horned heavyweights in a frontal attack. Surprisingly, the buffaloes actually ran. However, if you think that two lions can overwhelm dozens or even hundreds of buffaloes, then I would say that you're mistaken. The hoofed animals retreat strategically. They don't know how many lions are attacking them. They see two, but understand that there could be many more enemies. Therefore, the bulls take the dominant height, from where they can better survey the surroundings. After that, they turn around and launch an impressive counterattack. The buffaloes realize that they're dealing only with two young lions, so they gather momentum. The hill aids in this. The hoofed animals run and charge as a whole herd, but among them stand out a few individuals. These are the fiercest and most powerful fighters. They go out of formation, launch a fierce but short-lived attack, but at the same time, they are ready to quickly return if something goes wrong. Alleys nearby cover their backs and prevent the lions from launching a counterattack. And now the predators are on the brink of panic. The task of the buffaloes is to drive the dangerous neighbors out of this territory. If the lions are allowed to stay, they will attack later when they can camouflage themselves and set up a well-planned ambush. The predators made a mistake by engaging in a fight against a whole herd, and this mistake needs to be exploited. Otherwise, the predators' victims will be the weakest and youngest animals. To prevent this, the bulls are ready for anything. If the lions hadn't flinched and run, the herbivores would have simply just trampled them. Fortunately for the predators, they understood the situation and retreated. But they clearly underestimated the persistence of the bulls, and now the lions will have to look for their food elsewhere. Here, the lion pride was resting in its territory, assuming they were the rulers and completely safe. When the numerous herd of buffaloes approached, the lions didn't hurry to retreat because, for them, the hoofed animals were just prey. But underestimating the buffaloes was a terrible mistake. The hoofed animals spotted the enemies and decided not to wait for their attack, but to show just who is boss themselves. The huge bulls ran straight at the lions. Most members of the pride immediately retreated, but one young lion climbed onto low, dry trees, hoping to wait out the threat. He didn't understand who he was dealing with and missed the moment to flee. He was very unlucky. There were neither rocks, nor tall trees, nor a water barrier nearby to save them from being completely surrounded. The bulls advanced too resolutely, purposefully, and quickly. They closed the circle and prepared to attack the predator. The hoofed animals acted cautiously to avoid accidentally injuring each other to momentum and inertia. The lion was in shock. He didn't expect such boldness from herbivores. The cat snarls, roars, and even tries to strike particularly audacious hoofed animals. But the buffaloes don't care. The young predators' attacks make no impression on them because the lion is lying on a tree and doesn't really put much force into the blows. On the contrary, he's close to panicking. If the lion jumps down, it will provoke a swift attack and he'll simply be crushed. So the cat must stay on the tree. Its height gives it a minimal advantage. The buffalo's horns rarely miss reaching the enemy. The inevitable showdown between the predator and the herbivore is separated by mere inches or centimeters, and the hoofed animals understand this. Perhaps if they were willing to take the risk, they could have dislodged the lion from its perch and gutted it. But such an attack would cost at least one of the buffaloes a whole hide on the face. Maybe it could even gouge out the eyes of some buffalo. The hoofed animals don't want to get injured. They're satisfied with how effectively they managed to intimidate the lion. Pretty wise, isn't it? This predator will be left alone, but now it will think twice before attacking the bulls in the future. The herd of buffaloes clashed with a pack of hyenas. The predators tried to gain the upper hand over the herbivores by the element of surprise, but from the very first seconds of confrontation, it became clear that they entangled with the wrong bulls. One of the hunters managed to escape at the last moment from under the enraged bull's hooves. But the buffalo also stopped and didn't chase after the enemy, as they would have been surrounded and overwhelmed. A prolonged standoff begins. Hyenas are among the most dangerous and effective predators in Africa. They may not match lions in size, but they have their advantages. First of all, it's their numbers. As you can see here, hyenas gather in small armies. If a pride can usually field 3 or 4 lionesses against a buffalo, hyenas attack with dozens, if not scores. For example, here there are at least 20 of them against a relatively small herd of hoofed animals. Moreover, hyenas' jaws can crush large bones. Typically, the predators rely on this weapon as their primary tool. Their hunting tactics are characterized by cruelty, which yields results. While panthers try to get to the victim's throat and simply suffocate it, hyenas can circle around the prey for hours, swoop in, bite, and retreat. A hyena can pounce on its prey, sink its teeth in, and literally tear off a chunk of flesh, inflicting a ragged wound that drains the victim's strength and triggers an additional panic attack. The goal of the hyena is to inflict maximum wounds that will bleed and weaken the opponent, depriving it of mobility. In this case, the target of the attack is the calf. See? It's right in the center of the defensive formation. The hyenas underestimated the bravery and loyalty of the bulls. Although mothers play the most significant role in raising the young generation, all other adult members of the herd will defend the calf, risking themselves and facing danger. Hyenas are very resilient, and even if several individuals tire out, reinforcements will come. So it's almost like a double encirclement. Adult buffaloes shield the calf with their bodies, while the hyenas in turn encircle the small herd. The huge number allows the predators to maintain constant pressure while still resting. Tired individuals retreat, and then reinforcements come from the recently arrested hyenas from the rear ranks. Thus, hyenas can keep their prey in a ring for a very long time without letting it escape. It's reminiscent of the siege of a medieval castle, where before the decisive assault, the enemy torments the defenders with hunger, sabotage, and sporadic attacks. While the armies of humans in the Middle Ages used catapults for this purpose, hyenas execute exhausting lightning-fast attacks, risking themselves. The bulls constantly try to catch the enemies off guard, crush them, trample them, and pound them into the ground. Even against a huge number of opponents, the buffaloes refuse to surrender. The hyenas made a mistake by choosing the calf from this herd as their target. The predators clearly underestimated the endurance and fury of the hoofed animals. Each adult buffalo acts very decisively. The typical tactic of hyenas is for several animals to take turns attacking the victim from different sides. Then one hyena can leap onto the back of the animal that's fending off the second predator. But here, this tactic failed miserably. Buffaloes are too maneuverable. They not only retreat into a solid defense, but also sent the fiercest and bravest hoofed animals to attack the enemies themselves. A bull gains momentum, charges into battle, disperses the stunned hyenas, and then returns to its group in an arc. The members of the herd cover its back and prevent it from getting surrounded. The hyenas underestimated the unity of the buffaloes. Even a huge pack of hyenas hesitates when faced with several buffaloes at once. Adult herbivores don't allow anyone to approach or even touch the calf. When the hoofed animals cover each other so effectively and spectacularly, they manage to scatter the enemies without much effort. Moreover, the herd as a whole constantly moves as if it were a living single organism. Such a level of cohesion became an unpleasant surprise for the hyenas. No matter how long the hyenas could besiege such a herd, the buffaloes are much more stubborn. Moreover, the calf managed to remain calm as well. Quite often, bulls tried to lure the calf away, make it panic, move it away from its mother, and then cut it off from the herd, after which they quickly deal with the young one at hand. But here the calf turned out to be much braver than the annoyed hyenas expected. It not only refrained from running away and stayed with its mother, but also occasionally confronted the hyenas itself. Of course, it's not going to run straight into the predator's jaws, but it shows its horns to them. This is important because the hoofed animal sees the predator's maneuvers and can dodge another attack in time. In this case, time works against the hyenas. Although they can attack the herbivores for quite a long time, using their numerical superiority, this doesn't really help. The predators have to attack more and more boldly. With each passing minute, the likelihood of another attack failing and the bulls catching a hyena increases, after which they just will not let it go at all. A bull can simply trample a hyena or gut it, lifting it on its horns. Moreover, the powerful animal with a high pain threshold can even ignore other bites for a while to deal with the rest of the attackers only after finishing off the first enemy. As a result, the herd defends itself and saves its calf, showing the hyenas that they chose the wrong target today. The anaconda climbed into a narrow enclosure to devour the calf. But even after the young hoofed animal put up a worthy resistance against the enormous snake, the calf couldn't shake the predator off its leg, but it prevented the reptile from using its favorite tactic of strangulation. Typically, pythons and boas begin their attack with a quick bite. They sink their teeth into the prey, which is not only painful, but also stunning. Shocked by the attack, the victims try to break free, but the snake immediately coils its body around them and overwhelms them with its mass alone. Then the strangulation begins, for which the anaconda doesn't need to search for the calf's neck. The snake could easily crush the entire rib cage of the hoofed animal in a couple of minutes. But the calf didn't lose its composure after the attack began and managed to move deeper into the enclosure before the reptile uses its coils. Even with such a heavy burden, the hoofed animal managed to take advantage of the terrain, forcing the snake to stretch out its entire body and not allowing it to coil around. When the farm owner discovered the attack, there's no doubt that he would help the brave calf get rid of the enemy. But what would you do if you saw a snake attacking your pet? Would you call a specialized service or deal with the aggressor yourself? Let us know in the comments. Here's an incredibly tense scene of a female buffalo fleeing with her calf from a pride of lions. The pursuers are closing in. Several lionesses and a huge male are dangerous even for an adult hoofed animal, and the calf is just a snack for them. Finally, one of the lionesses rapidly closes the distance and pounces on the calf. The predatory cat knocks him off his feet with a powerful blow and grabs him by the throat. She didn't kill him, but she grabbed him securely and now easily carries the calf away from its mother. The panther abducted him before the female could even react to the attack on her offspring. If the predators thought that the buffalo would abandon her offspring, then they were wrong. The female showed no trace of fear and decisively attacked the enemy. Now she's not fleeing, but actively pursuing the predators. The buffalo charges at the lions, who are positioned on different sides. They could try to surround her, but the hoofed animal is ready to deliver fierce blows and threatens them with her horns. Therefore, the lions hesitate to attack the enraged mother. Her swift advance breaks the defensive formation of the lions. Meanwhile, the lioness with the calf disappears into the thick bushes, and the buffalo rushes in after them. This scene looks like it belongs in a thriller movie where the most terrifying and impressive moments happen off-screen. One can only guess just how the impressive confrontation unfolded in the thicket, but moments later, the buffalo emerges. And she's alive. And as she descends back down the trail, chasing away from the lions, her calf follows her. This is a victory. But the lioness remains there in the bushes. She's likely alive, but the pride won't forget this lesson anytime soon. Attacking the calf of this female was a mistake. Which of today's instances in which buffaloes demonstrated their power stands out to you the most? Let us know in the comments section, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. That way you'll be able to be the first to see new amazing stories from the world of wildlife.